have mercy on us.
So you never wanted a regular type life?
The fuck is that? Barbecues and ball games?
Yeah.
This regular type life, like your life?
My life? No, my life. No, my life's a disaster zone.
Are you crazy? Is that your problem?
Well, I ain't like that no more, man. I ain't no crazy killing fool.
And Baron, have we defeated evil? As it seems we have.
Good and evil. There never is one without the other.
Don't get too cocky, my boy, no matter how good you are. Don't ever let them see you coming. That's the gap, my friend. You gotta keep yourself small, innocuous. Be the little guy. You know, the nerd, the leper, shit-kicking servant. Look at me. Underestimated from day one. I'm the hand of Mona Lisa's skirt. I'm a surprise, Kevin. They don't see me coming.
Welcome to another episode of the INDIESPHERE. And tonight I'm going to get right into it because Mike's here. Special guest tonight, Mike Partyka. Not sure if none of you have heard of him or not, but he's pretty famous in the in the indie comic spectrum. So I'm just going to bring him on now and let him introduce himself.
I'm famous.
Dude, I think you are. I mean, you know, I've watched your some of your live streams. Although man, I've missed some of the last few live streams because I like, super chatting you or whatever they call it over there, whatever. But I still watch your videos and your shorts. You crank out the shorts, man. Your shorts are like every few days.
Well, they used to be. I haven't done that many in the last couple of weeks just because I've kind of forgotten. And also because I was pulling back a little bit to try and finish up some of like all of this other stuff. I wound up getting a few editing assignments from people and they're like, cool. Yeah, when are you going to have this done? It's like, all right, let me just clear my plate of everything else.
Right. Well, that and definitely I want to talk about that event tonight, your editing, because I know you're an author and I have your Amazon page up, so I'll share a screen and show that. But I guess I was introduced to you as basically you're this. I call you the Obi-Wan of editing. I mean, I don't want to kiss your ass or it, but I mean, I'm no expert on editors. It's not like I know a ton of editors, but I'm basically amazed by how well you know editing, the terminology, your attention to detail is insane. I call it. I think a couple of times I've commented in your reviews. You have I call it like surgical precision. It's insane. I mean,
yeah, most people just call it autism.
Well, hey man, whatever works, but it's. Again, maybe all editors are this way. I don't know because I don't know a lot of editors, but it just seems to me you are so detail oriented. Like, do you not look at every single panel? I mean, it's like you study every single panel.
Yeah, I am trying to go down to that level because what I'm looking for is really what I consider roadblocks and speed bumps. Anything that gets in the way of my enjoying the book or what I think is going to be the readers enjoying the book, I try and point that out, whether it's even if it's down to, well, that should have had a comma there, or here's this text box would have been better in this place rather than this place. Anything that would hamper the reader's understanding of what's going on and make the reader stop and say, okay, what's happening here? I don't get this.
Okay. Well, but let's just start at the beginning, if you don't mind, about you. So the first thing I'm curious about is, where were you born and raised?
Actually, I was born in California, but I moved to Texas when I was 8 years old. So I spent most of my life in Texas.
Okay.
So
And were
in
you
the
there?
Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm currently living north of Dallas, but I grew up south of Dallas. But six of one, half a dozen of the other at that time.
You're in Texas now.
Yes.
Oh, for some reason I thought you were like a little more east, but that's cool. Texas is cool. I went to the Dallas-Fort Worth area a few times, and yeah, it's cool. So, all right, the next is, and again, man, I don't have a lot of questions for you. I am not some expert interviewer. You know what I mean? You're just a really interesting guy, and you crack me up. Your humor,
Thanks.
I was like, you have like this tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic wit about you. You're not rude at all. You could be, but you're not. And as you know, I'm assuming you know a lot of the, how social media is, especially YouTube. People can get pretty vicious when it comes to, you know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
You have this
honestly,
wit about you.
It was, Twitter was where I probably learned most of the fact of you can't have a thin skin here. Yeah, when it comes to social media, you can't have a thin skin. People are going to just absolutely rip into you for whatever reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And you just got to be able to shrug it off and say, I'm not gonna let that matter.
Yeah. And that's another topic, if you don't mind, we'll talk about. But I again, well, I'll address it when the time comes. So, all right. So, okay. So born and raised in Texas, basically. And so when it comes to comics, what, like, were you, tell me about that. Like, were you a little kid or what?
Yes. So actually, back in California was where I got my first exposure to comics, because they didn't have a lot of comic book stores in that day.
Mm-hmm.
What they did have was spinner racks at the bookstores, so they would have some comics on there, and they would have also, at the time, Marvel Comics, especially, and DC did it a little bit, but Marvel Comics did it for the most part. They would have pocket books. And they were paperback-sized books where they would collect a few issues of like the really, really early Marvel comics. So I actually had, as somewhere between the ages of 7 and 8, I want to say, I had picked up Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 20, along with Amazing Fantasy 15. I picked up Fantastic Four 1 through 6, the Hulk 1 through 6, his first series. Captain America stuff with his Avengers appearance. I mean, there was a whole lot of early Marvel stuff that I was able to pick up as a kid. And I didn't pick up too much of the modern stuff except for here or there and just little drips and drabs because, I was, between 6 and 8. It was just like, that looks cool. I'll get that.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got to Texas and discovered that there were actual comic book stores that it wound up becoming a big hobby. And my parents were always the type where they wanted me to be well-read no matter what. So if it was a paperback or if it was a comic book, they were like, we'll buy it for you. So, whatever your parents incentivize, that's what you're going to do, especially if it involves money. So, if I can read the whole world for free, I'm going to be reading like a mofo.
That's cool. Yeah. Makes sense.
So I wound up getting to the point where I was reading comics at a rate of, I just remember, I could go to the comic book shop and just pick up like $50 worth of stuff. And this is back in the day where, it was like 75 cents a comic. It's I'm not talking about 10 comics here. I'm talking about a stack like that high.
Yeah.
I could do that like every week. I was trying to get almost everything from DC and Marvel. And so my comic book collection was really extensive until 1985. That was the big year of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Okay. And that was where DC Comics basically said, okay, we're taking all of our properties that we've had over all these 50 odd years or so, and we're going to scrunch them all into one universe and make one history. And we're going to start now. Wow. And so all of a sudden, the overwhelming portion of my collection of DC Comics became obsolete overnight because none of those stories were really they didn't matter anymore. They weren't the official canon of the DC universe anymore.
Oh yeah.
So I wound up selling off a whole bunch of my earlier comics, and on the Marvel side, now Marvel's never had that kind of reboot, but honestly, they've gotten to the point where every about 10, 20 years, they seem to jump a shark somewhere. And it just seems like they cycle in and out of these eras that now it's become, they're so weighted down, they could actually use a reboot. And I was really surprised when a few years ago they had their Secret Wars event, the second Secret Wars event, where they blew up the entire universe and created it. And I'm just like, you had an opportunity here, not only to lessen the load of all of these characters and get them stripped down to their basic concepts, but also bring them more in line with the movies. Because the movies, I mean, some things you can't really bring in line with. I mean, they can't get rid of Tony Stark in the comics. They're not going to do that. But you could at least try and bring enough in line with the movies to make it more familiar to the Marvel moviegoers. And if they did that, I thought that was an opportunity they just missed. But it turns out that they were in the midst of so many storylines that so many writers and artists were already invested in, that I don't think they wanted to do that, to betray everyone who was already along for the ride. And honestly, looking back, I kind of agree with that, because there were storylines like Jason Aaron's Thor run. And a lot of people panned that at the time because it introduced the female Thor. But if you actually go back and read his stories, it is one of the best runs in Thor. And that is not a character that ever appealed to me on any over the years, on account of it being kind of loosey-goosey with the whole Asgardian magic stuff.
Right. It's superhero heroic, as in it's a comic, so it isn't that more whatever legendary historical, Viking kind of stuff. It has to have that, superhero, and that's what comics are all about. I mean, how many characters have capes? I mean, and tight outfits. I mean, if you look at it like if you were an alien and you came here and you were looking at this, it's pretty odd if you think about it. Where the superheroes, they all have this similar pattern. You know what I mean? And it's not necessarily realistic. They're
like pro wrestlers taken to the next level.
That's a great comparison. But again, that's what the audience is used to, and that's what they want. I think I mean, again, I am no expert at all on all this, but you see like all these different versions of Superman's outfit in the movies, you know what I mean? And they keep they kind of tone it down. It used to be red and blue and yellow and bright, you know what I mean? And now it's like almost black. I mean, you see how they're kind of trying to move away from that wrestler icon look to a realistic quote unquote look.
Yeah, they're doing that largely because they want to make things that look serious. They want to make it look like something that someone would actually wear. I know they did it with the Captain America uniform, even within the MCU, because the first Avengers movie, you look at Captain America and you're thinking, okay, it's a little bit on the cheesy side, but by the time it gets to the Winter Soldier, it looks like a badass costume. Right.
Do you like that or no?
I do prefer when they try to make things look believable, like someone would actually wear this stuff. I think when I was a kid, I didn't care so much. I mean, I was just happy to see anything up on the movies at all. So if it was Christopher Reeve wearing the light blue spandex and all that stuff, I'm fine with it. I'm just happy to see Superman on the screen. But when they got to the time of like Man of Steel, it's like, it was time for an upgrade with the more Henry Cavill look, with the type of armor that he was wearing.
Yeah, that's cool. Because I mean, it's funny. My two favorite superheroes personally are the more human ones, Tony Stark and Bruce Wayne. They're basically rich men, but they're humans. They get shot in the head, they're dead. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they use their intelligence and their money to make these awesome outfits and this awesome technology. Something about that I think is really cool versus the, Superman. Oh, he's an alien from another planet crash. You know what I mean? It's like something about a real life person becoming a superhero to me is always I kind of like that direction, but that's a minority of the superheroes, obviously. So now comic books sounds like early. When did you start to get into the editing aspect of it?
Well, no, not until recently. I mean, it was really with the
Really?
dawn of the Rippaverse that I actually started getting into the more of the editing side. The
Right.
first time that I knew that I had some ability to do that kind of thing, though, was back when a friend of mine's brother and I tried to start a comic book company, and we did a couple of black and white comics that got published through Diamond, and
Ooh.
we stopped after the number one. I had to drop out for personal reasons, but there were at one point he lettered the book with the script that I had written, and it was right then that I realized that just because you've read comic books for a number of years doesn't mean that you've picked up all the techniques and tricks of how to do comics, because the lettering was all over the place. I kind of made him mad, but I was just telling him, it's like, we can't go live like this. And unfortunately, we did wind up taking a whole bunch of these black and white copies of the comic to a convention and showing them. It's like, here's reason not to buy our stuff. But so I had to go through and, just using Scanner and Microsoft Paint, I went through and did my own lettering of all of the stuff, and the lettering was much improved at that point. Although I can still go back and look at my writing and such and say, I should have done a better job on a lot of things here.
Right.
But as far as applying that to other people's comics, the first time that I ever successfully got to influence someone's comic was Ethan Van Sciver's Cyberfrog 2 Wrecked Planet, because at the time when I had a Twitter account, he would publish pages and preview pages and such. And at one point I said, this dialogue balloon over here ought to be higher up, because otherwise the reader might go down looking into this panel instead of going over here into this panel where you really want the reader to look. Also on this page, you have a dialogue balloon where she's not really saying anything. She's just kind of stunned and saying, huh, what? And, if you just got rid of that and it would look better. And he actually brought me on his show later to show the improvements that he'd made on the page, which, to my internal chagrin, he messed up years later. But so the finished product does not look like, what he had done for my suggestions. He went and he messed with some more stuff, and it didn't help.
What was okay? So now let's get into
that was where it started, and then from there, when Eric July hit the scene and the Rippaverse hit the scene, it was like ISOM number one was like the huge focus of everyone's attention.
Oh yeah.
And so I looked at that and I said, okay, I didn't actually wanted to really want to buy in at first, but then I saw some of his writing where I think it was Sanjuan who was saying something about, just because we're both accepts, that doesn't mean the same. I don't even like that label because it puts us in the same category, but we're not the same. And I'm like, this is an interesting dialogue to have during a fight. I mean, I don't even know anything else about the book, but I'm willing to give it a try just based on what he's written here. And is it going to be something interesting, or is it going to be something nonsensical? And so I picked up ISOM number one and started doing videos on that. And that's where my channel started taking off.
Okay. Yeah. Well, especially back, a year or two ago, anyone who did a live stream or video with Rippaverse on it just shot through the roof. It was just that was the clickbait, so to speak, except it wasn't clickbait. Everyone in indie comics that's what people were.
And it's still that way today. I mean, when I put out a video on Comicsgate versus a video on Rippaverse, I only get like half the views that
I can. I see. And you do quite a few videos on Rippaverse because, again, it brings the attention. And
that, and also because they put out so much stuff now. I mean, when you're dealing with Comicsgate and even the Comicsgate adjacent stuff, there's not as much content to actually plumb through. So I've actually got, if I look at my list of reviews that I'll be doing in the future at some point, then what I'd like to do is start alternating between the Rippaverse stuff and the Comicsgate stuff. Of course, with this, here's my let's see, my copy of Saints and Sinners. So this is going to be the next thing that I'm going through. There's 6 stories in here, and each of those stories might wind up getting a video depending on how much I find worthy of coverage. So it's going to be a while before I get to any of the other ones, but I've got people from Comicsgate or Comicsgate adjacent who have been asking, hey, go ahead and do one of my videos or do a video on my comic and see how it goes. It's like, okay, but it's going to be a while.
Well, so basically you have the work piling up between the Rippaverse comics, Comicsgate comics, and you say you're doing editing work for people.
Yeah, I just finished editing an 80-page script for one person, and then there was a 200-page treatment of what I didn't realize was a series that I gave notes on, generally speaking. I just basically said, look, I can't edit this down to the gnat's ass because there's no way I can do 200 pages of this, especially in the format that was delivered, because it was written more like a screenplay than a comic book. It'd have to be reformatted for comic book work anyway. But I can at least take a 50,000 view or 50,000 foot view.
right.
And it's like, switch that. And then at least give them some general ideas on what to do with the series. And I think what I basically advised was this would actually be probably good as 5 or 6 different books instead of trying to link them all together in a whole series or something.
Yeah. Wow. So, okay, that's good, because I was under the impression that you weren't doing editing work for people, because I was probably months ago, but I think I asked you.
I don't do for pay. That's the thing, is it's all just, gratis.
Really?
Because I have a day job, and if anything were to get in the way of my day job where it was like a contractual conflict or anything, then I wouldn't want that to happen. So, so basically I just say, look, I'm good with, if you just send me your stuff, I'll take a look at it. And I might, if for some reason the day job, something goes wrong with the day job, then I may look into just trying to pick this up and seeing how much of it I can do and how well I can live off of that. But I don't actually suspect it's as lucrative a job as I would really need.
Yeah, maybe not. But I mean, you'd have to be busy. I couldn't imagine if you basically said, okay, editor for hire, and the people that watch your videos and know of you, I would think they would just like, oh man, and then, obviously if you're negotiating the pay, I mean, I don't know if it would be equivalent to your day job, but it would definitely be more than a few bucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be equivalent to my day job. But the amount of work that actually goes into editing a script is a lot more than I thought it would be. Now, some of it I would probably have to push back and say, like the 80-page one that I just edited recently. One of the things that I did was I said, you have no emphasis anywhere on any of your words. So do you want to, and the guy says, I'll leave that up to you. And it's like, okay. That was a mistake on my part because I have to push that back and say, okay, look, this is not really being delivered to me in a finished state. Okay. Go ahead and do this yourself. And then, I'll take it up once you've done, the basic legwork saying, these are the things I want to emphasize versus not. But at the same time, that it was a good enough book that I had enough fun doing it, that even though I was having to modify a lot of lines in there, and modifying it to a degree that I'm not sure is acceptable for an editor to do. That's one of the things that you were talking about, how it seemed like I know a lot about editing. When I'm actually doing the editing, I start to realize how little I know about editing. Really? Because I want to talk to people like Marvel editors and stuff like that and say, what do you have to do? Because I don't know if I'm doing too much. Am I doing too little? Am I doing it the wrong way, the right way? I would love to be able to speak to some people who have actually done editing work and find out from them what are the proper techniques for doing this kind of stuff, because I can see all kinds of potential for overreach. And I know I've heard Shane Davis complain about how editors at DC would sometimes mess with things to the point where all of the dialogue was out of sync with the art. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I've definitely seen things like that happen in Rippaverse or other people's comics, like the 80-pager that I just edited, and I had to rearrange a whole bunch of stuff on the page. And how often does that happen? And what do you do when that happens? Do you push it back to the writer, or do you try to step in and do it yourself? When do you know when to draw that line?
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that I would love to hear from an actual editor. Unfortunately, I don't think the editors are the ones that go to the comic book shows or anything like that. You know, it's always the writers and the artists, and that's great. But what about the people who actually fine tune some of this stuff and make it presentable?
Yeah. That, I mean, again, you don't realize how many people are involved in making a single comic book when it comes from the professional thing, you know? And I mean, independence, it seems a lot different because not every independent has a team of people doing their one story, you know what I mean? But regardless, there are so many aspects, and I don't think the general public, I mean, when I didn't realize it before I got into it, how much is involved in making a single comic. It's insane, you know, just all the different aspects from the original thought to the writing, and then, you know, the pencils, and then the inks, and then the colors, and then the lettering, and then the editing, and then I mean, it's just like boom, 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 all this stuff for one, you know, whatever, 24 or 28, 30 page book, you know, and then it takes you know, for the indies, a year. I mean, I don't know. A lot of them take years to do a book, right? No names mentioned, but you know, and then it gets a crappy review. Oh, this sucked. And it's just like, oh man, come on. You know what I mean? It's like the amount of work involved is insane. And editing, again, from what I've seen of you, editing is a whole nother aspect, because now you have everything. Not, you know, because I thought editing was just words, like, oh, grammar, spelling, you know what I mean? You're looking at every panel, and you're saying this little object in the corner here. I'll never forget the one that really floored me was it was Cyberfrog, and it was some panel where the bottom was his reflective shoulder thing.
Oh yes,
Heather's face, and you're in your usual humorous way. You're going on and on and on about how amazing this so, and you're like, but this is not necessary. It shouldn't even be here. And I'm just like, what? You know, but you gave the logical reason why. And I'm just like, man,
that is one of my favorite reviews that I've done of all time. That was on Ethan's Cyberfrog Dark Harvest. Right. And it's exactly like what you're saying. There's a point where he's showing Heather's reflection in Cyberfrog's shoulder, and she's horrified. But the thing is it muddies the scene, because he's scribbling out the message that should be making maximum impact on the reader. And for her to be in there giving her reaction, it's not giving the reader space to have the reader's own reaction. Right. So it's and the next panel shows her reaction as well. So it's like, okay, let her be horrified in this panel. In this panel, let him reveal what he needs to reveal.
But see, like that, I swear you can make a 30-minute video on just that. On just that. No, I'm serious.
Well, because it has turned into a rule that I know Ethan said he's never heard of such a rule, but it's a rule that I've kind of developed for myself in terms of when looking at the structure of how comic book pages work. And it's like, let each panel tell its own story. Right. To the extent that you can. I mean, you can't always do that, but if you can say in this panel this happens, in this panel this happens, and make sure all of the dialogue and all of the art and stuff focus towards communicating that piece of information, the better your comic will be, because your reader is going to feel like, I got a story out of that, a story out of that, a story out of that, a story out of that. And that's so important in this particular space, because you're not getting a comic book every month. You know, if you're getting a comic book every month, then if 6 issues tell one story, that's great. But if you're getting a comic once a year, you want every bit of that comic to communicate as much information, useful information as possible, so that your reader is going to say, I got a lot for my money. Yeah, that makes sense. Man, I mean, already my head's full of information and stuff I'd love to ask, but I'm not, because we'd be here for hours. But I'm definitely, I don't know. I'm gonna have to talk to you again sometime. But it's like, I feel like we've opened up this massive can of worms simply with talking about editing, because again, looking at simply a panel and rearranging the panel and then saying, okay, well, then it changes this panel. So it's like, so if the artist is drawing, like,
would he do the sketches beforehand, like I guess the pencils, and then show it to you? And that's when you say, wait, because if it's all colored and lettered, and then the editor says, you should okay, well, now he has a lot of hours to redraw. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, there are so many places in the process where it's good to have another pair of eyes. Like first, when the script gets delivered, you look through the script, you think, can I imagine what it is that's going on the page? Can I imagine how this is going to look? You look for the words that you would emphasize. Is this making sense in terms of where the emphasis would go? I remember there was I'm kind of 50-50 on this one, but there was an issue of The Walking Dead where Rick Grimes, who's the main character of that series, he's given this long speech, and then he finally comes up and he says, we are the Walking Dead.
Right.
And I was like, okay, with everything that you just said before that, I think you should have been saying, we are the Walking Dead.
As an emphasis on we.
I'm still not sure if I'm right about that or not, but I remember thinking at the time, is that emphasis going in the right place? And those are the kinds of speed bumps that I want to try and get out of the way.
See, that's just amazing, because it's like one sentence, one word in that sentence, and for you it changes everything.
Yeah, it definitely.
And to me, that's insane, because I would just bypass the whole thing. I would just read the speech, say, okay, cool. Like, you know what I mean? But this is why you amaze me, because I'm like, how do you think this way? You know what I mean? And I'm just like, man, I got a lot of improvement with my stuff, because it's like, I do none of this, man. It's like, it's crazy. And again, I your history of reading comics, obviously that has to have been part of your knowledge base, I guess.
It is interesting to go back and look at some of the comics that I enjoyed back in the day and see which ones held up and which ones didn't.
Yeah.
And there are times when I've held on to comics for a long time just because the nostalgia of it and the emotional connection to some of it, and also the fact that sometimes it's not going to be easy. If I decide I want that back someday, am I going to be able to get it? Especially considering how hard it was to find in the first place. There was a series, the Animal Man DC series by Grant Morrison back in the day. I got the first 26. Well, he had the 26 issue run at the beginning, and then I quit into the Peter Milligan run, I think it was, that followed. And that 26 issue run, there was one particular issue. It was Animal Man number 21. It was where he made a huge discovery at the end of the thing, and I don't know why, but I could not find that issue anywhere. And this was back in the days before they were reprinting everything. By and large, I spent years going through quarter box after quarter box after quarter box. That was when they were, I don't know if they do that anymore today. They were selling, at the comic books conventions, they would have all of these comic book boxes, no order to the comic books whatsoever. It's all random stuff. And I would be going through comic after comic after comic looking for that one. And it was years before I found it. Years.
Wow.
And just stumbled on it one day and finally got it. And I was just like, man, it took forever to get that. So when the time came to go back through my collection and I was reviewing stuff that I was going to let go of, I was like, Animal Man, do I still want that one? I mean, that was one I loved back in the day, but it didn't hold up quite as well. And I think by the time I went through it for the third time, I said, I'm ready to get rid of this one.
So how big roughly is your comic book collection now?
I have so it occupied, I have it split up between two rooms. There's some in my bedroom. There's some in a second bedroom that's just basically my junk room. And the junk room holds the largest portion of it, which is a long box holds about 300 to 400 comics, and I have 18 of those.
Oh my God.
In there. So they're like kind of in a grid of 9, like a 9-panel grid, and stacked too high. So that's in one room. In the other room, I have 2 boxes worth that I'm trying to get rid of, and then another 7 or 8 boxes off to the side. So I don't know how much that totals up to. Somebody else can do the math, but I think it's probably around 5,000, 6,000, something like that. Well, how much? All right, I'm going to go ahead and get on the calculator and try say 350 times, we'll say 24.
Yeah.
And that would be like 8,400 comics.
God. I mean, do you ever like a week out of the year read them all one? How do you,
well,
I mean,
these days, I don't have time to read any of the
Yeah.
back stock because
Yeah.
unless I'm really looking for something that I'm trying to get rid of, like there's an online store where if you manage to accumulate like $20 worth of stuff that they want, then they'll you can turn it into them, and because they're local to me, actually, I don't have to ship them. I can just drive them over. But every once in a while, I'll be like looking for stuff that I can get rid of to try and bump my threshold up to that point. But I don't generally have time. I don't even have time to read this stuff sometimes.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I know. Yeah.
And when I do, it's like I come to one of these, and then I go like, page by page, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to do a video on this much now because I can't go any further until I've addressed everything that I've seen here, or else it's going to be like a humongous long video. And I don't really know which videos get the most views, but I just try and go until I hit a particular wall and say, all right, I've seen enough that I can make a video out of this. I'll go ahead and make a video out of this. Like the one I did recently on ISOM number 3, where all it was, I was looking at one particular page that they had used and said, okay, I see where this is a reflection of a page that they did back in ISOM number 2, but they did not use it well here when the technique worked back then. So that was the bad reuse video that I had for ISOM number 3.
Wow. Well, so, okay, what out of all of the comics you've read, and I mean, it's got to be thousands. I mean, God knows. Yeah, I mean, is there any one in particular or a series in particular that, like, you, with your knowledge of editing and everything, is like, okay, it doesn't get any better than this. This is damn near perfect,
No, and the reason I say that is because when I was reading comics and when I grew up reading comics, I wasn't looking at them the way I look at them now. So, so there's no way that I could go back and look through all of the stuff that I've read before and my memory of it and think, oh yeah, I wish every comic book series would be like that, because I don't even know if I would like that today. I mean, we all get older where our tastes change. We get to be a different person than we used to be. And so I don't know if some of the stuff that I went back through, I think probably the most I've ever been impressed with editing in the early days was Amazing Spider-Man used to have 3 titles going at one time. It had Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Web of Spider-Man. And they all 3 were coming out every month. And the continuity was so tightly kept throughout that for years, they only had one time when the Amazing Spider-Man comic went bi-weekly for a month or 2 months. That goofed things up a little. There was a point where Aunt May was in the hospital when she shouldn't have been, or something like that. So some subplot got snarled up.
Like the timeline got thrown off.
But it only happened one time over maybe 5 years. And I'm like, when you've got 3 comics going at the same time, how do you keep all of those balls in a row juggled just so properly? That's probably the most impressed I've been with editing in that case.
Okay. Recently, when you actually kind of started editing, what would you say is probably one of the best, like, I guess it'd be like the indie comics that you would say is the best, as in the best work or whatever?
Well, so far the best stuff that I've reviewed has been Ethan Van Sciver's main Cyberfrog books, Cyberfrog Blood Honey and Cyberfrog Wreck Planet. I think those two those still occupy the top 2 spots on my on my list. As far as other stuff, I mean, every once in a while something pleasantly surprises me. Like there's a comic called Morningstar Chronicles by Frost Comics. I think I probably gave that one 6.5 or 7 or something like that, but it was just refreshing to see something that was largely free of all of the problems that you would see in some of these other comics. It was just a nice, Batmanish style comic book, and it's like, God, it's nice to have one of these.
Yeah.
And there's another one. There's one guy who I actually edited his comic, and it's on my list. I'm starting to think I need to start putting an asterisk next to my rating on it just to show this is one that I've actually edited.
Right.
But his name's Andrew Rodriguez, and he put together a comic called Cargo, and he's got the first couple of issues of that published. But his art style is so, I don't know how even to really describe it. It's a little bit on the cartoonish side, but in a good way. And he's got a great eye for the writing aspect of it to create these characters who have layers who will draw you in that respect. So
Gotcha.
Cargo was a good read, and he's got a new one that he's working on now. I don't know if I have permission to mention anything about it, so I'm not really saying anything about it, but I'm trying to help edit with that one as well.
Okay.
And it'll be interesting to see where that one goes, because that one has a lot of potential.
Yeah. Okay. So again, Ethan, being a professional for 30 something years in the industry, that obviously weighs heavy with his work, as in he has retained that professionalism and skill and everything, and it still shows, right?
Yeah. And I mean, to be in that business and rub up against the writers and the editors and stuff, you are absolutely going to pick up a lot of knowledge from them. But it is easy to see sometimes where the art takes over, where really some storytelling should kind of be put in front of the art. Right.
Now, so I mean, did you two ever talk about you like being an editor for him?
I've made offers, but I think I annoy him too much.
Is that it? Because dude, I would jump on you. He should have said, "You're mine." He and I
disagree on some pretty fundamental things, because he'll look at some of the suggestions that I make and just say, "Oh no, you can't do this," and I'm like, "Well." Yeah, it depends on what your priorities are. So if your priority is to make the art look as cool as possible, then yes, you'll do it, this way, and it will look cool. But it's also, to somebody who's trying to read and understand the story, it's also going to be very distracting, and you're going to make the person do extra work.
Gotcha.
Probably my favorite example of that is the one where he's got one of those Vespa's Hornets like right in the middle of the page, and it's breaking out of the panel like all around it, so that it is the most important thing on the page, except it's really not. And the way that the reader's eye is going to wind up tracking gets interrupted on all angles from the way its limbs are like jutting into practically every panel. So I mean, if it's a cool looking page, but to read it takes extra effort, just because you're having to say, oh yeah, that's from that panel. Ignore that for now. Look over here. And then, what is this leading to? Oh, wait, I'm not even supposed to be following that, and so on and so forth.
It's like confusing, basically.
Sorry, I didn't get that word.
I'm sorry, it's confusing, basically.
Yes.
Okay. And again, so you two basically repeat what you said earlier. You see editing like the job, like the task is to make it easy to understand for the reader, so that it is the easiest to interpret visually.
So that in terms of the story, in terms of the art, in terms of the lettering, everything is communicating to the reader what you want, and is not communicating unintended things as well. And sometimes that's hard to figure out too, because I think one of the reasons that some people stumble in the area of leaving things too vague is because they haven't had the experience reading so many different things to realize if you show a person this, it could mean one of 5 different things. And if in your experience, it's only ever meant one of 2 different things, well, then you're going to be locked into those 2 interpretations of it, and you're not going to see how your readers might be confused looking at it another way.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the same thing applies to like politics and other things.
It's dizzying. And it's like, this is just a comic. But, I'm saying? It's like, but there's so many ways, I guess, to do it right and wrong. And then that's the other thing is, like you mentioned with you and Ethan, how he kind of prioritizes the art and the visual aspect, and you are more of the, I guess, storytelling and have the reader understand it.
Aspect. That's one of the things that I think I think because of how he's designed some of his pages, I think I've come to understand that he is able to get a vision in his mind of what this whole page is going to look like.
Right.
And just basically say, okay, I can see the page as a whole and understand all of the information that it's communicating. Where I come in is I look at that page that he's envisioned as a whole, and I say, reading it sequentially as a reader would, here is what the reader is going to see. And sometimes those are two different things.
Yeah.
And knowing the difference between those two, knowing that if you do this here, it's going to have an impact on what happens here, et cetera, et cetera. That is something that I think he needs someone else to have that perspective on, because he's got that holistic approach in his mind, and it's how he's wired, and it's how he's able to draw, some of these amazing pages that he's able to draw.
Right.
But at the same time, you can see where if you're great at seeing the forest, following tree by tree might not be your strong suit.
Right. And again, it's just literally two different ways to see, to tell or interpret the story. His is more visual, and yours is not. And it's like, how can you meet the middle? Because what you would suggest, he would probably say, well, that won't look as cool. You know what I mean? It won't look as whatever. And so that's where I was always like, well, does the editor have the final say? As in, if he says, you should really change this, you just do it, period? Or do you say, well, no, you know what? I kind of like it this way. You know what I mean?
In a big company, probably yes. At DC and Marvel, I'm sure that the editors do have final say.
From what I've heard,
worst case scenario, they'll just get another artist, or they'll get another writer. But for the material that comes in the independent comic scene, where the property really is the possession and it is the proprietary ownership, belongs to the writers and artists and stuff like that. Yeah, it's going to depend on whoever owns the book, and that person's going to have the final say. And so I tell people when I give them my notes and stuff, I say, look, everything that I do is a suggestion. You can throw out as much or as little as you want. If you throw out all of it, don't even bother to give me an editing credit on it, or anything like that. Just publish your own stuff. That's fine.
Yeah.
I look at my role as just trying to make the stories that people give me something that are the best possible versions of themselves. Like I just dropped a video just now, and it's a remastered video of my critique of Dick Masterson's critique of ISOM #1.
Right.
And one of the lines of critique that he gives in there is, well, this book really should start with the murder of a family member or something. And I'm like, yeah, but then it's a different story. And if it's a different story, you're not really critiquing the story you've been given. You're trying to change it into something else you'd rather read.
Right.
And when you're doing editing, you want to still stay true to whatever it is that the artist or writer or the creator is trying to deliver to the audience. You don't want to try and put your vision in front of that person's vision.
Right.
So that's one of the important things that I try to hold back on. And sometimes it's hard to do when you see how good something can be, and you want to try and make it that, and at the same time you don't know how much of that is going to survive to the final page.
Yeah.
It's always the creator in the independent comic space. Whoever owns the property, whoever is the creator of it, that's the person who's going to have the final say on it. And sometimes you just got to say, this is what I think it could be. It's up to you to see whether that's actually what you want it to be.
Right. And again, that's why I think you're different than the few editors that I know, because my little experience with editors is they're more, commanding, as in like the final word. And if you don't listen to them, then you're an idiot. You're just like, hey, it's a suggestion. You don't even have to do it. You know what I mean? You're different. It's like you're not as tightly wound, I guess you'd say. You know what I mean? It's like
part of that again is just the fact that I don't have the control. I mean, if if I was put in a position where I was working for one of the big two comics and I actually had say as to do this versus do that, I might be very different in my style at that point because I might be a tyrant. I don't know.
True.
But I would like to think that the people who are delivering stuff to me could be trusted enough, and maybe that's just something I'd have to discover over time, that I don't have to do that kind of stuff. And to know maybe with each person's ego how much you can push and how much you can't, because some people might just feel like, oh, this person's giving me so many nitpicking kind of little things that I don't know. My curiosity is to go back and look at some of the projects that people have done over time and say, hey, when you got this from the writer, how much of that actually made it to the finished page? Because sometimes I look at things, I won't specify the one that I'm actually thinking of, but sometimes I hear people talk about writing for a particular comic and then realizing, okay, what they're saying is not actually what landed on the finished page. So who stepped in and changed things? And is it something that got pushed back to the writer and the artist, or is it something that the editor just basically said, okay, I'm giving this to somebody else to finish up? Because they do that too. They have like staffs at the major comic book companies. They will have people on staff whose job is to take the art that was delivered by the artists who are on the book and change it according to the editor's notes and stuff. Wow. So it's not always the things, and those are the kinds of stories that I would love to see and to hear more of from, say, the people on the Comicsgate King shows. You've got all of these artists there who have all of this knowledge and all of this lore. And I'm only bringing this up because there's been a kind of a hullabaloo in Comicsgate recently about, what should this Comicsgate King show be? Because you've got a whole bunch of people with their heads down over a desk doing drawing and stuff for 2 hours. And is that really entertaining for the audience? What could they be talking about?
Gotcha.
I would love to hear about all of the comic book lore and relationships that they had with the editors, with the writers. Tell us the things that you can tell about them. Your favorite moment with this writer or that editor or this thing. It doesn't have to be negative stuff. It could be positive stuff too. Like, here are the times when I feel like an editor really treated me right, or here are the times when, me and a writer really clicked. There's so many things that I just imagine they could be saying on those shows that could be lore that we can all absorb.
Right. Because again, all of the readers, all of us, we have no clue how it is there. And for them to be firsthand and to say, well, this is how it really is. Again, I think you're right. It would be entertaining for true fans.
It was not until like 1985 or something, with all of the Crisis on Infinite Earth stuff, and then the people who were writing and drawing those books that came out in the aftermath of that. Those were like the years that I finally realized that there are people who write these things. There are people who draw these things, and there are people who have all these other jobs that are making these stories come out the way that they do. This isn't just they're telling the stories of these characters' lives. As a child, I naturally thought that, Spider-Man, of course, was a real person who they were writing about, or things like that, or at least as a fictional character, there was some sort of real lore behind them. But no, it's all people. It's all people that are crafting these stories that are being delivered to us. And to get to hear of those people and to get into the minds of those people would just really be interesting.
Yeah, it would be, definitely. Okay, really quick. And again, if you don't want to talk about but the Twitter thing. What was it a specific tweet? So
my official position, and I feel like I have to say this because, if this ever comes down to being, any kind of legal thing or whatever, I don't know. Wow. I'm probably never going to get my account back, but that's fine.
Yeah.
In fact, I just recently got onto Blue Sky, so let's see what's going on over there and how much.
Good luck.
Yeah. I was thinking about joining Threads too while I was at it, but anyway, so I was on Twitter for a number of years, and I had a few different accounts. I started out to keep myself under control, and so I wasn't just spouting out anything that was in my mind. I created my first account as just a haiku account. So, and at the time, Twitter was like 144 characters, so you could just write in haiku poems and five syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. And I would always restrain myself to writing like that so that I wasn't just dumping all my thoughts the way that I saw some people on social media were. I felt I needed that kind of restraint.
Yeah.
After a while, I decided, okay, this is too limiting for me. I'm going to go ahead and create a different Twitter account. So I created a second Twitter account, and I started posting under that. And that was just normal prose tweets. That was normal, all sorts of different things. And I kept that one for a while until for some reason, I was always having a problem getting into the account. Twitter was always sending a message to my phone and saying, you need to, please, after I would log in, or I'd have to change the password, they would say, please, get the code at this phone.
Okay.
And so one day the code didn't come to my phone. And even if I kept saying, send it again, send it again, send it again, it wouldn't come to my phone. So I discontinued using that account. And then I went to back to my Haiku account, and I started using that.
Okay.
Then there came a day, like years later, when I had, I did make a backup account for the other account. So I had 3 Twitter accounts at this point. And then I had another Twitter account that I accidentally created for myself. And because I thought I thought I was logged in under a different email address than I was. And so I said, okay, well, yeah, fine, create the account. I don't know what the heck's going on. So I wound up having 4 different Twitter accounts.
Jeez.
And every once in a while, I would get a suspension. And the suspensions on Twitter, they would have no rhyme or reason to them. There was one time I got suspended for 7 days for what was clearly a joke, because somebody posted one of those stupid things where they said, if I broke into your house and stole the thing right next to you, what would I get? And I put shot.
Yeah, right.
And I got suspended for 7 days over that. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And then there were things where I thought, oh yeah, that, they would suspend me for something. I'm like, okay, yeah, that was kind of offensive and egregious and stuff like that. I understand that.
Okay.
And I would enter in, okay, I choose not to appeal. And I'd be back on like that. And I'm like, what is this? There's no rhyme or reason to this.
No.
So you would think that there would have been a more progressive structure on Twitter to say, okay, you're in good standing, so we're only going to suspend you for a day, and then take the tweet down and blah blah blah, or oh, you did it again, so now 3 days. Oh, you did it again, now it's 7 days. And at some point somebody's going to get the message and say, okay, maybe I shouldn't be a dick, something.
Right.
But at one point I posted something. And I got into a conversation that I knew was going to be controversial. And I don't want to discuss what it was, but
sure.
I got into a thing that was controversial. And oh boy, was it. Because by the time my account got just canned by Twitter, I was getting millions of views. I think one of my tweets got like 4 million views.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, fine. I guess no no fame is bad fame, or all fame is good fame, what they say.
Right.
And then I had a side conversation on the same subject with somebody. And just as the one conversation was dying down, I was thinking, wow, I can't believe I managed to make it through that unscathed. It looks like this is all just going to kind of blow over and whatnot. All of a sudden I got a suspension. I was like, oh God, well, okay, what is it for? And so I went and looked at it, and I thought, but that's just true. I'm not saying anything that's offensive necessarily. It's just a statement that's true.
The truth hurts.
It's not something where you can look at that and you can interpret it maybe whatever way you want, but the bare fact of it, it doesn't make sense that this would be me. And because it was something like that, I went and I said, I'm going to appeal this, because and it was the first time that I'd ever really tried to appeal, and Twitter's appeal system sucked at the time. It probably still does, because there's actually 2 ways that you could appeal through Twitter. And I tried using both of them. The first way, they give you like 200 characters to state your case, as if that's anywhere near
right.
But then there's another place where you get to do the long form style. So I did the long form style, and I went and I tried and say, look, this is the reason I said what I said. Here are all of the logical, scientific, kinds of arguments that I'm saying for. But I'm fine if you don't want me to say it, then, I won't converse about it on Twitter anymore. I'll just take it off the platform so I'm not violating the terms of service. And I was, just basically being conciliatory, but just stating for the record, I don't think this is something that people shouldn't be able to say. I mean, it's just, in order to say that, you're just going to have to say, well, we don't allow true things to be said here.
True.
And so I waited, and then I got a notice that my account had been banned permanently.
Wow.
And I was like, really? So I appealed that. And when I appealed, I didn't even get a notice from them saying, according to their own terms of service, which they're supposed to do, they're supposed to send you, this is the post you're being banned for, and this is the reason in our terms of service. All they did was send me a form letter that said, we can ban whoever we want to, and you're never getting your account back. And I got that same form letter 3 times. And on the 3rd time, I was threatening some sort of legal action, even though I don't honestly do. But then they just deleted my account altogether. So everything I ever posted in that account is gone. And there are other accounts that I think I have on there that are completely suspended. And I don't miss, I have a book on Amazon where I collected like 1,000 funny tweets from my old account. And so I have like the whole download of everything that I ever posted there. And I pulled everything that I'm probably ever going to out of that account. But, and the only thing that I miss from the account that I lost was I had a treatment of how I would have done episode 9 for Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
And so my version of episode 9 is gone.
Wow.
But that was it. Other than that, I am surprised at how little I miss it. Because I used to be on that thing and I used to have anxiety about Twitter and the conversation that was passing me by. It's like being plugged into that was like, oh God, what somebody's saying something that I could respond to and maybe I'd get famous and all this. Yeah. So this is my Amazon page. And I think, this is the one that if you go to the full bio, where it says read full bio there, about the author
right
section,
here.
where it says read full bio.
Okay.
Yeah, Ethan Metzgeiver, he pointed this out because it shows that I said I've been more recently, I was a comics commentator on Ethan Metzgeiver's Comics Artist Pro Secrets channel. It's like, he was on there one time. But it's true.
But that's a victory. That's a big deal, dude. He's the biggest guy in indie comics. Everyone knows it.
Yeah, that is true. But
so I mean,
I think at some point I'm going to have to update this bio, but I haven't found the books that I have on there right now. They're old stuff. I mean, those 2 books were books that, oh God, I'm looking at the cover for that first one, and I realized the what I did with Microsoft Paint is not showing up well.
These 4 books, correct?
Actually, those are the top books. There's 6 altogether, I think. No. Hold on for a second. Let me think. How many do I have there?
4 here. 5. Well, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it
5? Looks like, yeah.
And I have a couple of short stories that I've got on other sites, but I plan on collecting those 2 into another book someday. So and you can see I've been hate screwed on some of these, but others of them, 3 of them actually went to top 30 in their categories at one point.
That's cool.
This one, Testimony of History to the Souls in Hell, that's one of the 2 that I've got, with the one below it against the Jehovah's Witnesses view on the Trinity and their view that people are annihilated rather than suffering torment in hell.
Gotcha.
That was
political and religious, man. You right. You
and this one's humorous, and the other one was just kind of that one's more of the 20 years that I had on a blog. I had a whole bunch of posts there, and that one was one that I developed just kind of as I actually got interviewed by somebody. Not interviewed on video, but interviewed in person by somebody from PragerU over that one, I think.
Wow.
but that never
That's
really
cool.
went anywhere. But yeah, I kind of had this idea of, since there is a constitutional convention thing going around, and maybe I could do or figure out what to contribute to that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I
Well,
plan on doing at some point, I'm actually writing a bunch of short stories now,
okay.
because I like to enter into these contests where they do for flash fiction. And those flash fiction stories can be anywhere from 100 words to 2,000 words. So they're very,
Okay.
very short stories. Some of them are rhyming stories and stuff.
Mhm.
And when I've got when I've got 100 of those put together, 1,000 of those. No, when I've got 100 of those put together, I think I'm going to release that as its own volume of short stories. And I don't know how long that's going to take. It depends on how many rounds of this it takes to get up to 100. But
Yeah.
and then I'll see if there's any like desire for more writing on other people's part, because one of the things that I haven't really done is I have monetized my channel insofar as YouTube now allows me to put ads on there and get super chats and things like that. But I haven't created a membership, and I don't know. I don't really know what people would want from me as far as membership privileges goes. It'd be interesting to see what people would sign up for, and if it would be something along the way of, if I were to write a short story and put it out there every week or something, and then because you do a short story a week, and then in 2 years you have enough material to put together another book.
Yeah.
And then,
like, would this be fiction? Like,
oh yeah, just fiction and stuff. I wasn't thinking of doing like political commentary or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, fictional stories, just things that are just off random. One of the things I like about these writing contests is they'll give you prompts and they'll say, okay, we want you to write a story about, it's going to be historical fiction, and make it about an archaeologist, and make it about the emotion of anger or something like that. And they'll give you these prompts, and then you got to try and figure out what are you going to do with those prompts. So those are kind of fun little exercises that some of these writing contests give you. And then the one that I'm doing now actually allows you to judge other people's stories, and your votes count towards whether or not their stories move on to the next round. So I another one of those that once I get off here, I'll go and judge a couple of those stories and see how my stuff maybe compares against theirs as well.
Yeah. Or maybe you could do a short story and present it to the Rippaverse and see if they'll publish it.
No,
there many.
Oh God. Yeah, that's the thing, is there was back in the day, if Eric July had called me up and said, hey, can you come and edit my stuff? I would have said yes at the time, because now it's just there's too much. It's not animosity so much, because there's some people who hate Eric July. I mean, Ethan hates Eric July. That's clear. I am just kind of numb to the Rippaverse at this point, because I know how good it could have been, and I'm just having to swim in this lake of disappointment over how it is right now, and hoping that every once in a while, like, if something in here becomes a gem of some sort, then I can point that out and say, hey, they actually did something really, really good. But to the idea of trying to work for them now, it's like, no, he'd have to be somewhere else, especially after some of the stuff that he's pulled in terms of telling us this is a creative choice. This is not a mistake.
What was it? That double page? Was it the double page spread thing?
That was the Bloodruth double page spread. And the thing that I find so egregious about that is that, let's say that it's true. Let's say that we can take him at his word, and that it was absolutely a creative choice, and he just made a mistake. You're telling me that all of the people you ran that past said nothing.
Right.
Because I know if I had been in there, I'd be like, no, you're not going to do that. That is the worst idea you've ever had.
I mean, it was, my opinion, clearly it was a mistake, and it was a big one. Because it's a double page spread, man. I mean, to me, that's the jewel in the crown of a comic. Sometimes is, a double page. You know what I'm saying? A double page spread.
Yeah, it's definitely
and to mess that up
thing in there.
That's bad. So but So between Well, you have a lot of work cut out for you. It sounds like you are really busy because between your day job and these little editing projects on the side, and then wanting to do reviews for your channel. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, you're a busy guy, Mike.
Yeah, and then just having a constant stream of YouTube podcasts that I keep up on. I mean, my God,
Right.
I think Ethan was up there for 6 hours last night, and
What was that? Because I'm lost. He was what?
Ethan Van Sciver was on for like 6 hours last night. I was like, oh my God.
I am out. I have faded from basically the indie comic community. I used to watch his channel like all the time, probably a year or two ago. And yeah, dude, his streams will go 6, 7. I've seen something they're like 8 hours. I mean, he'll go. I mean, I don't know how they do it. It's like because I only stream like once a month, and I like a few times I've done like a 3.5 or 4 hour stream, which is insane to me. I'm like, who watches this? But people do. But dude, it just I don't touch. It's like I basically don't touch the internet for a day or two. It's like it burns me out. It's like I think something about the electronics just like fries me, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with the internet at all for like 2 days. I want to take a walk outside under a cloudy sky. I mean, it's just and how they do it all the time. I mean, dude, we're talking once, twice, 3 times a week for hours and hours. I can't do it, man. So
well, I mean,
yeah, there's a lot of content.
For Ethan, it's obviously the financial incentive because
yes,
he was talking about how Trashcast pays his mortgage, basically. So
yeah, between the super chat, just everything, dude. Yeah, and I remember because I that's where I started to fade out. It was the Trashcast stuff, and I get it. I'm like, dude, if I was getting paid that much money, I would probably do the same damn thing. So I don't blame him. It was just that whole war, that whole Comicscape versus Rippaverse crap. You know what I mean? Because I was on board. I love it when they joined. And I remember I did a picture congratulating Eric July for his release, and got all 200 something likes. It was like both sides were joined. You know what I mean? And I remember it was a Sunday morning, and I still have the tweet. But it was a Sunday morning when Ethan dropped the bomb. And at the time that movie King Kong versus Godzilla was out. So I grabbed a picture of King Kong fighting Godzilla, and on the tweet, and I said, "Good morning, Comicsgate. Let's go. What the hell?" You know what I mean? And then like everyone got it because they're like, no shit. Because I'm like, these are the two king monsters that are duking it out now, and I'm like, everything's screwed from this point on. And I'm just like, why did you do this, man? I'm like, you had this union of two like armies, you know what I mean? And you just
and what's really interesting is to know what was going on behind the scenes for all that time, because that union was really kind of a forced and strained thing up to that point, and learning that okay, there really was this problem that was developing. And I'm sure the last video that I just dropped, I don't know if that's going to help anything on account of the narrative that went on at the time, which is basically something that I'm trying to debunk to some degree, and or at least to give people a little different perspective on account of the source material. If you look at the source material for what it wasn't really kind of the thing that it was being touted to be at the time. Right.
It's man, it's like politics and egos and all this crap. It's just like, I mean, you could I think everyone saw it when Eric July hit the spotlight, you know what I mean? And I'm like, everyone seems cool with it, but I know there's certain individuals who are smiling with gritted teeth, Well,
I
saw
think,
that.
I don't know if it was so much. I don't know if the envy would have been so much a factor as the idea that all that money signified a level of quality beyond what it actually possessed. And
Right.
it was funny. I was watching a John Delarose video the other day where he's I don't know if he was crapping on Graham Nolan or just Comicsgate in general.
Mhm.
But he said, oh, it had to do with the Razor Fist thing that recently dropped, where he was Razor Fist was criticizing '90s comics art, and Shane Davis was coming to the defense of '90s comics art.
Right, right.
And there was a kerfuffle in which Razor Fist dropped the line saying, "My book has sold more than any of your individual comics."
Oh, boy.
And then later on in John Telerose's own video, John says, "Well, sales doesn't mean anything." It's like, really? Because that's what everyone was saying about the Rippaverse, is that sales was somehow
Right.
indicative of quality, and it sure as hell was not.
Right. It's and
The
this is why
drop in sales is what is indicative of quality. When you see that Alpha Core #1 made like $1.3 million, and Alpha Core #2 is struggling to reach $130,000, that's where you know what the sales signifies. The sales signifies a drop in quality that was never really there.
Right. But see, to me, as a ghost creator, as a nobody, that's insane, those numbers. I mean, the fact that, first of all, this is an independent creator, Eric July. We're talking about millions, and a loss is 100,000. I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, 100,000 to me, that is, I can die now because I hit the goal. I mean, if I die the next day, it's cool. I succeeded. But to everyone else, it's a loss. I'm like, this is what we're dealing with. It's like, I mean,
well,
I don't
because
know.
we're comparing the same person at two stages. Of
No, I understand it. But again, this is he's not Marvel and DC. He's independent. He is an indie comic creator. And there's, I mean, how many, probably more than me, what's hundreds of indie, 1,000? There's a lot of indie comic creators out there, from like nobodies like me to your Ethan Van Sciver's and Eric July's, And when the low, the bottom feeders like me and a lot of others see that, it's like, this is insane. It's like these figures and this stuff. And for anyone to say like, success versus failure, it's like, oh man, it's just crazy. And I don't know. The whole scene is nuts.
We're all talking in relative terms. I mean, yes, the money that he's bringing in right now is probably enough to keep him sustained and going for a while. Although, if things keep going on the downslope, that could wind up bleeding off into just too little to even sustain the company.
Because again, he's not just him and his wife making these comics.
Right.
He has
He's got his warehouse. He's got the warehouse staff. He's got the people doing the announcements for him. He's got people that he's doing the merchandising with and all that. Yeah, there's a lot more writing on this than just his personal livelihood and all.
Exactly.
So that's something that weighs heavily on him.
Yeah. But it was, again, I remember it was, I remember that morning, and I'm like, it's all changed now. Now it's going to be war, and it has been. Dude, that was like 2 years ago, wasn't it?
If you want another night like that, you should look at Ethan Van Sciver's live streams from last night, because that was pretty intense stuff.
Really?
Yeah, look at the first. He put out 2 trash casts. I think it's 217 or 217.5, or is it? I hope it's only that those numbers are what they are. But the first one, it was because everybody's kind of talking about Comicsgate Kings. What is Comicsgate King?
Right.
Is it entertaining to the viewers? Is it entertaining to the people doing it? What about the conflicts and all the other things that are happening in the space? And you have the arguments with John Malin's leaving the Jack Show and
wow.
There's little fractures that are happening that you just don't really expect, but I don't know. It may all heal up. I think probably the Comicsgate side of things are the biggest grown-ups in the room, compared to like the other bunches that I've seen so far. And one of the reasons that I follow watching other people's channels is just to see, all right, what is the other side of the story from this person, and then realizing, I don't know if I can trust anything this person says. But
and that's important because again, if you just, and that was the problem I saw, is as soon as Comicsgate and Rippaverse split, and we're divided. I mean, it reminds me of politics today with the right versus the left. It's like,
Yeah, it's kind of
this side's right and this side is Nazis, or and this side's saying the exact same thing about them, and they will never meet in the middle. So I'm like, well, it's done. It's in this division is permanent, and they will never come together again. And it just sucks.
Well, especially when the audience capture is paying the mortgage. Yeah.
Right. It's just, you know what I mean? It's amazing to see how they are so divided and so different. And it makes for great entertainment. And again, whether you love Ethan or hate Ethan, he knows how to entertain. He's a natural entertainer. He's a showman. It's crazy. And, it is what it is, as they say. But I can't believe we've been on I thought you'd get out of here before an hour. I thought you'd be bored, but we're hitting almost an hour and a half, man.
There's plenty of stuff that to talk about when it comes to the comic book world.
Too much. I mean, like I said, my head was spinning 20 minutes in, and I'm just like, I got to focus and remember the questions I was going to ask you. But man, you have to. Do you? I don't know. You're gonna have to talk about this on your show or something. I think if you just did your own interviews with yourself, so to speak, you know what I mean, for a half hour, an hour, and just talk about what kind of what we talk about here, about whether it's editing or I don't know, man. But it just to me, you seem like this. You have all of this knowledge and expertise, and it's like you should get it out. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people would appreciate it.
I hope that it gets out in the reviews. You know, when I'm doing the reviews and I'm trying to show, okay, here are the things that I would have done differently. Here are the things I think the writer or the artist slipped up or something. I hope that to me seems like probably the easiest forum to get that kind of information out, because that gives people real world examples.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to focus on, because then I get to first, enjoy reading comics in the first place. As far as, as long as they're not that bad.
Yeah. It's just, I wish you did this more often with other people. It'd be awesome to see you do a live stream with, one of the kings or something, and just, get your point of view versus the artist's point of view, kind of, you know what I mean?
Well, if you haven't subscribed to BTM Reviews, give BTM Reviews a subscribe. I have been on there. They tend to feature my videos.
Okay. BTM Reviews, got it.
Yeah.
I have your Amazon link and your YouTube channel link in the description of this video. So I don't think I got the Gab, but again, Gab is the main place where that's your main.
Yeah, because after I got booted from Twitter, I did have a Gab account already for one of those times that I was suspended, and it wasn't something that I kept up at the time. But now that I'm blocked from the X space, then Gab is usually where I hang out, because I know they're not going to ever kick me off, because I'm never going to say anything that violates Gab's terms of service. I would pretty much have to become a serial killer or worse before that happened.
And again, is there? I think I know people asked this before, but is there any chance you will get back on Twitter because you mentioned a business account? I
know that I remember there was a time when Ethan got kicked off of Twitter for a while, and so he had his all caps comic account, and he was able to continue posting through that, so long as it was mostly business related. And so if there ever comes a point at which I incorporate a business and I can give the business a Twitter account, then I can get back onto X through that. But I would only use it in that case for business relations and business announcements, maybe video announcements, things like that. See what they'll allow me to get away with.
The whole debating thing you wouldn't go into in Twitter again.
No, not unless it was something that would specifically got in with me, or if I was making a general statement about, here's something I saw and this is my opinion on it. I mean, I don't see where I would not want to get into huge one-on-one discussions or things like that with people. I mean, we could always do that through the DMs probably, but not, it would not be something that just to make sure I don't run afoul of the censors or whatever the rules are.
And real quick,
Mhm.
I guess the subject. What you said you didn't want to talk about exactly what it was that
Mm.
the long tweet was it political? I'm assuming political.
It was about a news story from a foreign
Okay.
country, and
Okay.
it was basically I felt like there was somebody who was being unfairly maligned,
Gotcha.
somebody whose reputation was being called into question for
Okay.
what I thought were completely unfair reasons,
Okay.
and it was one of those where I really thought to myself when I was talking about it, it was like, God, I am really going to be stepping into a minefield here, but it feels
Yeah.
wrong not to say anything and just let this person suffer all those slings and arrows. You know, and
Gotcha.
it was one of those kinds of things where it's like
And what year?
you're
What year was
casting this
this?
person as something like terrible, and it's not fair.
It's not. What year was this?
Oh, it was I think I got booted from Twitter about 2 or 3 years ago, so it was fairly recent.
22, 23?
Yeah, somewhere around there. It was not like a huge news story where, you know, it got a lot of press because, like I said, it happened in a foreign country, and it was not even not even worth the chatter that was going on around it. It was just that the subject matter was, you know, people were losing their minds over something that was really stupid.
But it was before the Elon takeover.
No, it was after. It was after.
It was after the Elon takeover?
Yeah, that was something that made it surprising to me
Man.
too. It's
Wow.
like, you know, I'd love to
I
talk
thought
to
it was a
Elon
woke
Musk and
thing.
say, hey.
I was going to write it off as well. I was woke. So, of course, you got.
No, well, I mean, it may still have
Jeez.
been by then. I mean, who knows how long it took
Yeah.
for him to, you know, get rid of all the censors who were
Yeah,
causing
true.
trouble.
True.
But at that point, I was just like, no, that was in the post Elon days, and I think
Okay.
that's probably why I felt a little freer to, you know, actually speak my mind there
Right.
on various things. But all of a sudden, to
Yeah.
get smacked down like that is like, okay.
That sucks, man. Well, you'd be howling Jesus in Twitter, man. I mean, if you were able to, dude,
You know,
you'd be
I
sheer
feel like
entertainment every day.
the same thing that happened to Jordan Peterson every time he got on Twitter would be the
Mhm.
same thing that happened to me, because I cannot
Yeah.
say that Twitter did anything to make me a better person.
Right.
Because the snark that I could deliver on there, which was so fun to deliver on there, was something that, you know, it's a soul curdling kind of thing after a while.
Right.
And I know that in Jordan Peterson's case, I had to unsubscribe from his feed because he would just be completely negative whenever he was
Yeah.
getting on there. And
Yeah.
I don't. he even had on one of his podcasts kind of an intervention with himself where he had two of his friends saying, "What could I be doing differently?" You know?
Yeah. Dude, Twitter, especially, well, internet, social media, I think it brings out the worst in people. It really does.
Oh, absolutely. Because people
Sucks.
people who find a cause wind up thinking themselves to be wonderful people on account
Yeah.
of being on the side of this or that cause. And it
Right.
happens to everybody in left and right combined. It's not
Right.
until you start thinking in more nuanced terms and realizing, okay, well, this person has reasons for believing the way they believe. I'm lucky that I managed to catch myself before alienating too many people, you know,
Mhm.
aside from all of X, but
Yeah.
like in my own personal social media space, there was a time when I flounced on a couple of people and then realized that was stupid. That was the wrong thing to do. You know,
Yeah.
when you come to the point where you're just at such an impasse with someone, one tactic you can approach is to say, tell me what it is you really think so that I understand at least.
Right.
And that's something that I think there's a lot that's lacking in today's discourse is the attempt to understand the other people and
Right.
to rather assign your motives, the motives that make you feel good about yourself and even worse about them.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much of a temptation to just go ahead and do that rather than have to think about what it is they're actually saying.
Yeah.
And I rather, at this point, I rather take the opposite approach and say, okay, well, this person has completely opposite views of mine. What is it about their worldview that has them taking that approach? Because if I was able to see it from their perspective, I might be able to either find a crack in the armor, or you know, maybe it's something that had changed my mind over time. You know, it's not something I really go out looking for, but at the same time, I know it can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So when is your next live stream? Are you planning roughly?
I don't live stream regularly, so I
Yeah.
don't really have one planned. Generally,
Okay.
when I live stream, it's because I want to raise funds for a book that I will make a review on if people
Gotcha.
want me to, but if they don't, then I'm just gonna
Yeah.
alone. The one that I'm let's see, what was one of the ones that I was thinking of in terms of there was probably a couple of Ripiverse books, but I actually have some
Right.
extra ones that are still lying on the side from one of the last donation things that I did.
Yeah.
So that'll probably pay for that. I honestly don't know what is coming up. I think probably when Liam Gray releases Dino King #2, I'll probably do a live stream for that, because that's
Okay.
one of those where it's like, do I really want to?
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but and I actually do have another one that from Liam that's coming in, which is his Total Conquest Annual, which I think has a Clown World story in it, and Clown World is set on the same planet as Dino King. So I was like, okay, well,
Okay.
I want to at least try and get as much of these different things as I possibly can. So
Yeah.
if I'm
Cool.
going to be knowledgeable enough to write about any of the other stuff,
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping that his Xenotype book would go for another printing so that I could go back and look at that, because apparently that was pretty key to understanding some of the stuff that was going on in Dino King.
Dino King. Okay. Wow. Well, I will stay tuned to your channel. That's for sure. Like I said, just keep up the great work, man. The shorts, the videos, and when you can do the live here and there. And is there anything else you want to mention before we go here?
Don't think so. I'm on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble as far as all of my channel instances. For the most part, I post the same material that's on there. There's every once in a while, if I think there's something that's going to run afoul of the YouTube censors, I'll just do it as an alt tech exclusive, and at that point, it'll only be on Rumble or BitChute. But I don't have too terribly many of those. I am thinking at some point where, because of how branding being what it is, and you want to kind of make a consistent brand for yourself, that I might take what the content that is not comic book related and put it behind a paywall at some point, because I've got things like I've got a playlist on religious stuff. I've got a couple of playlists on political items. I've got my cultural Bill of Rights stuff in a playlist. That was from that book on the 12 amendments that I was proposing. I've got just a whole bunch of current events type commentary. And now that I've kind of gotten into the whole comic book thing, it might be less confusing to people if they just saw, oh, well, he's got this many, he's basically a comic book guy.
Right.
And then every once in a while he'll post something else that's not comic book related, but he'll put that behind the paywall later or something in case anybody else wants to see it. But I probably wouldn't bother with that until I got into the habit of producing content that could exist behind the paywall on a regular basis and make it worthwhile for people to get a membership, because I don't want to have a membership just to get a membership,
That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, again, like I said, I will definitely stay in tune with your channel, because it's great.
And as far as the social media stuff goes, I'm on Blue Sky now. Truth Social. I created an account because I had to get something. Gab's not available in the United Kingdom, so people who can't reach me on Gab can reach me on either Truth Social or Blue Sky now. And I think that's it as far as the social media stuff goes.
No Reddit?
No, I have.
Come on, Blue Sky, Reddit.
Oh God, no! I have an account there, and I've posted a couple of things to the to the Ripiverse forum once, and basically everyone just thumbs down me to the.
I never even stepped foot in Reddit. I never even bothered to look at making an account. To me, Reddit is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to social media. But Blue Sky will be interesting. You may have fun over there.
Yeah, I'll have to see. I mean, every time I post a video, I generally post a link to it on Gab and on Truth Social, and then I'll post it on Blue Sky. There was one point where I was going to post a video from where I was listening to Glenn Lowry and John McWhorter, a couple of commentators posting over there. I was like, let me not roil the waters too much over there at first. Let me just get my toe in first.
Yeah, because I don't go, but from what I've seen, because a lot of people post blue sky stuff on Twitter to basically make fun of them and to point out, look how insane it is over at Blue Sky. And yeah, man, you got to tread carefully over there because they will boot you like that.
Yeah,
they don't mess around over there. It's crazy. It's almost like they have their little detectors sniffing out anyone who is not a complete far left person. It's weird, but you know what you're doing.
Well, obviously not, since I got booted off of X.
Well, yeah. I mean, but you said you were on there for years, and you had tweets that had millions of views.
And in the end, it did not matter to them one bit.
Yeah, that's true.
I just wish Elon had instantiated that thing about we'll pay you by the view when I was getting those 4 million views, because then I'd be like, at least I would have gotten a check.
Yes, you would. Again,
a severance check.
I wish, like I said, I wish so bad, dude. If you had a Twitter account, man, and you could just like be like you wouldn't, dude, you'd be more entertaining than almost anyone I follow. I would love it.
It's funny because being on Gab, I can see how bad it can get with there being no restraint whatsoever.
Right.
And it's pretty chilling. On the other hand, when you think about it, it's like, if that's really if that is how people are when they are allowed to be who they are, it's actually a good thing to know how far people can go in that respect, because people like to think that it's the fringe and it is the fringe, but people don't understand how virulent the fringe can be. And they kind of, I know when I first got on Gab and I started encountering all of the racist stuff, the anti-Semitic stuff. And then there's some people out there who are just, they're decent people who feel like they can't say what it is that they want to say that's consistent with their religious beliefs or things like that. And they just want to be able to be with like-minded people in that respect.
Yeah.
When I see some of the stuff that I've seen out there, it's almost like the platforms like X and Facebook and all of the other places that moderate their content are really trying to hide this underbelly of the world from everyone else. And that makes people think that it's not a problem and makes people think that, it's not something that really needs to be combated where it rises. But I think if they could see what it was that they're up against and how many people are actually thinking that way, it would have a chilling effect and a realization that we're not yet the society we idealize ourselves to be.
I mean, again, I know you're not on Twitter, but I've noticed like recently, again, I'd say the last few months, it is insane what people can get away with saying there. I mean,
oh sure, especially in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination and things like that. And
both sides, both sides, like as in, I mean, dude, it's like the words that are commonly uttered there are the ones I don't say. You know what I'm saying? And I cuss like a sailor. But there are those 2, 3, 4 terms, I guess we'll just say, regarding people or groups. It's just everywhere, rampant. And I'm just like, how do they get away with this crap? I don't know. It's just like anything. It's weird. It's like anything goes now. And I'm just like, this is insane. And the hate.
Well, dude, it's like I tell people who get on Gap to come talk to me. It's like, be prepared to use your block button liberally.
Yeah, it's nuts, dude. But I don't know what happened, but I swear it's like, I mean, man, every side is just full force. It's nuts. And so I'm not even on Twitter much anymore because it's just like, you almost feel sick. You're like, okay, everyone.
It's like I told
hateful.
people before. One thing you learn from being on social media is that human nature has no floor. You know, there's
None.
no, you can sink lower. If you think
Yeah.
somebody saw it synced as low as possible,
Yes.
no, there's another floor below that. That place has a basement too.
You're right, man. I don't want to deal with that, because to me, it's that whole, one of the coolest quotes I saw about a movie, but it applies to life in general, is once seen, it cannot be unseen. You know what I mean? And
Oh, yeah.
I hate that, because there's so much crap that you see on a daily basis from social media. And I just start to feel, I'm like, this is like, it's all garbage. It's like trash. I'm like, what the, and I put the phone in another room. I don't even touch the phone. So I don't know what I do with the phone. You know what I mean? And I go back to work on my desktop and stuff. But it's just, yeah, it's nuts over there, man. I don't know what's going on, but it is crazy these days. But that's what it is. So anyways, but yeah, again, but thank you for spending the time and
Thank you for having me.
Well, man, but it's just cool because, you know, you don't know me. I know you more than you know me because of your videos. So it's cool that you were just like, oh, sure, I'll go. I don't know this guy, but why not? So I totally appreciate you hanging out for so long and talking and being so honest, man. And
No
again,
problem.
I will keep tuned to your channel for sure. And you know, just keep doing what you're doing, man. Because again, I love your editing work and your knowledge. And again, I just take advantage of that when you can. If people are offering you work and you can make the money, do it, man. I mean,
well, like I said, yeah, I don't get paid for it now on account of contractual obligations.
Right.
So I always want to be able to say, look, dude, I got a day job, I got to mind this, and this is, you know, that way when people say, if people were to say, you know, it's like, hey, I gave this to you and you haven't returned it yet. It's like, okay, well, you know, it's not like you're paying me for it.
That's smart. That's cool. But again, I just love your editing reviews when you are going and you just talk, like I said, that I'll never forget that when you were talking about that one panel with the
I wish I could do more videos along those lines where I am actually in the frame and I can talk and switch out with various pictures and do all the editing, but it takes so long. I mean, that is the thing that gets to me, is how long it took to put all of that stuff, all of those animations, all of those things together, like the sliding of that ball, you know, just up and up and up until I replace it with my face.
Again, the time involved in all of this stuff, from making the videos to, you know, comics, it's insane. And this is why it's like a full-time gig, you know, is you can really get into this and be like, well, this is all I do, you know. But again, I love the videos. I know that people do, because you get, you know, you have a nice little follower count there on your YouTube channel. And
yeah, I mean, that was the nice thing about when Rippaverse came along and I started doing these videos. My follower count at the time was like 100 or something.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you know, I've just been kind of, eventually it's leveled off. So I think I'm at 1,360 right now. And cool. It's not like expanding out into the reaches or anything like that. So I don't know if I've just pretty much solidified my niche, or maybe if I did something else with the content or improved the editing some, then maybe that'd help as well. So I wish I had more time to work on the video editing things, because those it is actually pretty fascinating to do, but it's so time consuming. I mean, the way that I do these things now is I generally start by scanning in the pages. You know, I've got 2 copies of I wonder if anybody clued into this, but I've got 2 copies of Saints and Sinners.
Okay.
This one is the cover B, I think, and that's my reading copy, and this one's going to be the copy I rip up in order to make scans.
Okay.
And then from there, I'll scan it. I'll clip all of the art down so that, you know, it's not showing the jaggedy pages. And then I'll go through page by page, and then I will, you know, clip out what I need and put it into the PowerPoint document. And then I'll type notes in of what I plan to say over each particular slide. And then as I'm going through and making the slides, I'll go ahead and do that. And then PowerPoint itself has a recording feature where you can record over these things. And unfortunately, my microphone does not work well with PowerPoint for some reason. The microphone that's in the laptop. So I am constantly having to say like the same thing 2 or 3 times because I want to make sure that I at least get it once.
Right.
And so I don't know if maybe if I just record things through CapCut, which is what I'm using in order to do all the video editing, whether it will allow me to just record my voice over these things where I don't have to constantly go back and do retakes of the first few syllables of each slide. Because if I have a slide where I'm saying, and in this panel we see, and I will literally have to say, and in this panel we see, and in this panel we see, because my microphone doesn't always activate on that first word. So I'm having to activate it once and then, go into it on the next go round. And then I have to clip it out.
Yeah.
So if somebody knows how to do that better, please go ahead and leave a comment or something, or send me a note on Gab or whatever, or in one of my other videos. I would love to know like tips and tricks on how to get this stuff working a lot better and more cleanly, so I don't have to do as much editing.
Right. So again, there you go. Perfect example. You need basically like a video editor type to help your editing.
Yeah, either that or somebody to show me how to do it myself in a speedy way, or with whatever software I need. I actually do have. I'm talking to you right now, and I don't know how it sounds, but I'm talking to you right now on my regular laptop mic, and I do have a mic that I bought off of Amazon, but I've never even taken it out of the box because this has been good enough so far, and I hate change when I can just make what I've got work. Yeah. It sounds fine to me. Like it's more trebly, and there's no bass, but that's common with microphones on laptops. I'll have to see about if it's not sounding like natural or something. I may have to see about breaking that thing out of the box and just seeing what happens.
Test it, mess with it, dude. Because that's what I have a fairly good microphone, because for like the first half a year I was live streaming with the camera mic, because there's a mic into the camera here. And it was the same. It was, it's not that great, dude. As soon as I got the microphone, it's like everything changed. And all you do is literally you turn off the mic. Well, actually, the computer did it itself. It sensed, okay, well, this is the mic we're using, and it just cut that one. So there's no crossover. I would say try it out, and it's one of those things where, like, once you try it, and if it's cool, you won't go back. You know what I'm saying? You'll stick with that. Especially if you have one that's in a box. I mean, man, break it out and mess around with it, because I was like, I don't need a microphone. Well, you do if you're going to have people on.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
One of these days.
No, you sound okay though. You sound fine.
Well, as long as people can understand my words and stuff like that. But one of these days, when I finally had to change out my PCs, my laptop and my desktop, because of Windows 11. Windows 10 went out of service just recently. And so I wanted to make sure that I at least had Windows 11 security and the constant security updates and patches that they make on that. So I went ahead and replaced my laptop first, and then I replaced my desktop. So I'm good there. But I did not, in either case, buy something that was like top of the line by any means. I was looking for just, okay, what's on sale? What can I live with? And just go with that. If I ever manage to clean out enough stuff in my junk room where I can create a podcasting setup for myself, then I'll definitely invest in better equipment and better machinery, because I do want to make sure it's going to look as good as possible. And I'll probably even take some classes in video editing to try and spruce up my skills, because if I can do something like that, and maybe I can go into a career as a video editor as well. Who knows? Or at least get some gigs.
I mean, there's so much opportunities, man. And again, you clearly you're multi-talented. I mean, you have different avenues you could go. So whatever you enjoy the most, do it, man. You know what I mean? But the editing to me is the most entertaining, because again, you make it entertaining. Your tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic wit, and again, you're not mean about it, And I know you're dealing with egos. I hate it. I don't want my stuff reviewed practically, because I'm just so like, oh God, they're gonna hate it. You know what I mean? But that's just how it is, man. You are very cool with how you do it versus a lot of other people who just will flat out trash something, you know?
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, I think you're when it comes to the whole comics and editing and the way you do it, personally, I think I think I'm assuming maybe that's why you gain the followers is because of that. Because you mentioned the Rippaverse, and so that's what you're doing. You're editing, comic books, and everyone knows Rippaverse is a hot button, and there's your followers. You know what I mean? So I would say if you keep doing that, you probably will generate more followers, and who knows? But that's just like,
Yeah, the people ask me sometimes, do I want the Rippaverse to fail?
Right.
There's part of me that's thinking, is anybody going to watch me if it does?
Right. I know
But at
Ethan said the same thing.
I really want comics to get better, and
Right.
if we keep holding up mediocre comics as being examples of what the independent comic space can be, then people are just going to think I may as well just stick with Marvel and DC then.
Yeah, I know.
Why would I go for this stuff? It's just more of the same.
It's not an easy fix. It's weird because again, there are so many people involved, and there's so many good and oh, these are okay, or this is pretty, like upper tier, middle tier, lower tier, and everyone's got their different views, and it's nuts, man. So it's definitely a subject that I know, like someone like you has plenty of material to talk about. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, like I said, as far as the non-comics gate, the non-Rippaverse stuff that I've got to review, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've got probably 20 different, not titles, but some of these, like John Malin's Graveyard Shift, I haven't touched that yet, and he's already got 5 volumes of that.
Jesus.
And then there's other stuff in there where people are already on their 2nd or 3rd issues. And I've got other stuff that's waiting. It's just I've got things on order from Aaron Lopresti. I've got things on order from Art T-Bear. I've got plenty of stuff on order, and that's mainly the reason why I do so much Rippaverse stuff, is that they are pumping it out month after month. I wish it was good, but they are pumping it out. So
well, and again, it works for you because if that's what people love watching you review and with your editing stuff, then it works. So
yeah, I mean, the thing that I hope the most is that as people are watching these things, they will take away lessons that are going to make their own books better. Right. Because that's really what the point is to come out with good comics. Yeah. And in order to come out with good comics, sometimes you have to see where other people are going wrong.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And I have been criticized once or twice because I don't do enough to promote the books, but I tell people that's not my job. You know, the books, if they are quality, will promote themselves.
Right.
But as far as me reviewing them, I mean, if you want a good promotion from me, make a good book.
Yeah. Simply, I mean, if you ask me, simply editing, making a video about a book, that's promotion right there, man. I mean, you know what I mean? They should be happy that because look at all of the like I said, hundreds of books of independence or 1,000 or more. I don't know. There's just a lot of people out there making comics from the nobodies to the big guys. And the fact that you get your select few and take the time to make videos about them, even if you're trashing them, and you don't trash them, you know, you're funny the way you do this stuff. That right there's enough. That there's your promotion, man. You know what I mean? But like you said, you are not a promoter, you're an editor, and stick to that. So just keep doing what you're doing, Mike. I think it's great. I mean, and I do more and do more, do whatever you want. But yeah, I think it's great what you're doing. And I know a lot of other people do too.
All right. Thanks. I appreciate it.
No problem. So again, I have your links in the chat. And again, not many people here watch this right now, but like in the next week, for some reason, all my live streams get all the views the following week. So maybe you'll get more. I'm hoping you get more people over there on your Gab or your YouTube channel or something. But
Yep, Gab,
because
Truth Social, Blue Sky, and then
Right.
YouTube, Rumble, BitChute. I'm pretty much making the rounds as far as those main ones go.
yeah, you do.
And I probably will create a Threads account at some point just to that's the only other one that I know that I keep seeing things from, because every once in a while Facebook will keep directing people to Threads and stuff, and
Right.
like, all right, well, maybe that's another audience. Who knows?
Well, the one thing you should do, if you come across any fun, interesting conflicts over Blue Sky, man, bump those over to your Gab or your YouTube channel. Do a screenshot or something, because that stuff's gold. You know what I'm saying? If you get into it, we got to see that. You know what I'm saying? You got to be like a little spy and give us intel from Blue Sky.
Oh, goodness. Life behind the trenches.
It is, yeah. All right. Well, Mike, again, thanks for taking the time, man. I totally appreciate it.
Thank you for hosting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I hope more people do interviews like this. I can't believe more people don't. I think they just don't really know of you yet. I think I think once people start discovering you, I think hopefully you'll be doing more interviews with like bigger channels in the future. I hope so. But anyways, again, I totally appreciate it. Thanks again, and I love your work, love your videos, and I'll keep in touch with you here and there. Okay, man.
All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. You have a good night.
All right. You too.
All right.